Happy Monday, friends. We have another lesson today on converting fractions to decimals to percents and figuring out percents of numbers, which is actually super easy and super fun, but I want to just do a few quick refreshers. So I would love for you to pause this video for 1 second and get out a piece of paper because I want you to do some of these with me. So pause and I'll wait. All right, so press play and here we go again. So I'm going to give you a couple of fractions and I want you to turn those into decimals and then turn those into a percent. So we'll start off with a real easy one. We'll do 55 over 100. Okay, I want you to turn that into a decimal and then I want you to turn that into a percent. So go ahead and do that. And basically, this is 55/100ths. So it looks like that. And to turn that into a percent, remember we move it to the right twice. So the percent sign would go there. And we get 55%. Okay, easy one. Let's try this. How would you write 5/10 as a decimal and then as a percent? That is 5/10ths, right? And then if we move that decimal over 2 times, that's where it would go. So we put a 0 right there. So that would equal 50%, which is super easy because 5 over 10, 5 is half of 10. All right, let's look at a fourth. Now, some of you already know that one, and you've done this before, but if you did, well, if you think about quarters, how many quarters are there in a dollar? 25. Okay. Also, though, if you used a calculator, you could have done 1 divided by 4, and that would give you 0.25, right? Which would equal 25%, because you would have moved that decimal over 2 times, right? To right there. All right, so let's get into some that might be a little more tricky, although I kind of doubt it. Let's see here. If I did 12 over 25, okay? Now I can get out my calculator and do 12 divided by 25, and I would get a decimal. But I can also turn this into one that I know I can do, because I know 25 can go into 100, so I'm going to make an equivalent fraction. So 25 goes into 100 4 times, so I would do that times 4, and 12 times 4 is 48. And now I've got something I can work with. 48/100ths, which moves me over to 48%. And I would want you to do it this way before you got out a calculator, because obviously in most cases we don't have a calculator on us and you have to be able to do the math. So turning something like, we know 25 can go into 100, and we know anything over 100 is easy to turn into a quick decimal, quick fraction. So you do what you can there. Let's try another one. Pretty easy. If we did 2 over 20, okay? Again, I could, with my calculator, do 2 divided by 20. But I also know 20 can go into 100, so I'm going to put it there. And I know that 20 goes into 100 5 times. So I would do 2 times 5, because all the rules, you know, whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top, which gets me 10. And now I know I have 10/100ths, which means I have 10%. Okay, so you always want to think before you like freak out and look at something and be like, whoa, I can't do that. Most stuff you can make into a fraction that's easy to do. And we did all those simple fractions the other day anyway. So I just want to make sure that you saw this and you saw a quick example. And I would love for you to write this in your math notebook, because it is very important to know. And that is, if a number is not over 100, if a number is not over 100, or 10 also, because you could do 10ths easily, try try to reduce it, or make it over 100 if you can. Make it an equivalent fraction. Sorry for the messy handwriting. But you always want to do this before you use a calculator. So that was sort of a quick review. And now I want to talk about percents of a number. You guys did a couple of these last week on Wednesday when you did those number stories and you were figuring out how much money you would get off of a price. And we are going to be doing something similar again today with you remembering everything in you is over of. Never forget it. This will be your life. Everything will be easy when you do this. So we are going to be doing percents of numbers. So here is an example. If I gave you 10% of 70, and I wanted to know what is 10% of 70. You would probably look at this, and I'm wanting you to remember is over of, and think to yourself, well, Miss Khaki, there's no fraction here. And you guys know how to do is over ofs when I give you like, what is 3/4 of 24? And stuff like that. Now, there isn't a fraction. And so I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not totally sure how to do this. But if you remember how we did it the other day, we know how to write a fraction as, we know how to write a percent as a fraction, right? So that is 10 over 100, always. And we have of 70, and we don't know is. So we're trying to figure that out. Now I'm looking at this going, oh my gosh, but 70 into 100, that doesn't work. Well, I'm dealing with a pretty easy fraction here because I can cross off those zeros. See that? And now I can go this way. How many times does 10 go into 70? And so I do 1 times 7, and x equals 7. So 10% of 70 would be 7. Okay, not too hard, pretty easy. Let's try 5% of 60. Okay, so I'm not going to do this. I want you to practice writing right now. How would you write that out? Where does of go? Where does is go? What do we not know? I'll give you a second. And hopefully you wrote it like this, 5 over 100. And now we know of 60, so I'm putting the 60 on the bottom and x on the top. And now I'm at that conundrum again because I'm looking at 60 and 100 and I'm like, 60 doesn't go into 100. What could I do? Well, I can reduce, by the way, 5 over 100 because I know 5 goes into 100. So I'm going to reduce this fraction. 5 can go into itself once. And 5 goes into 100 20 times, right? And then I just rewrite my 60. And now I can do this easily. 20 can go into 60, 20, 40, 63 times. So I do that times 3, and I get 3. So this case, x would equal 3. Okay? So again, I have just figured out how to either reduce this fraction so that it can be over 100, or I want to reduce it to make it so that I can play with these numbers more easily. And now 20 and 60 work. All right, let's try another one. Now I'm going to throw something at you. What if I have blank percent of 48 equals 24? Now what? So I want to tell you this one thing really quick. When you see equals, that is also saying is. So blank percent of 48 is 24. If you'll notice, I know of and I know is. So this time I know this fraction, right? Because 24 goes on top and 48 goes on the bottom. And I automatically know if I have a percent, no matter what, it's over 100. So what I don't know here was x. So friends, you can do this the absolute opposite way as well. Okay? And now I'm looking at this going, well, 48 can't go into 100. So what can I do with this fraction? And I know, because I'm looking at it, that 24 is half of 48. So I could rewrite this as x over 100 equals 24 goes into itself once, and it goes into 48 2 times. All right? Now, I already know half of 100 is 50, but 2 can go into 150 times, so the top would be times 50, and I get 50. And that is how you do that one. And so let's do one more mind-blowing one. We have blank percent of 25 equals 20. Okay? Or is. Now I want you to pause the video and try and work that out. Okay? I don't have time to sit here and pause it. So pause it, and when you're ready, come back on and we'll be ready to go. Now once again, I know my of, and I know my is. So I'm going to put 20 on top because that's the is, 25 on the bottom because that's the of, and I already know 100 because it's a percent. What I don't know is what percent. What percent is the question. And now this one is easy. 25 can go into 100 4 times. That was times 4, so this is times 4, and x equals 80. Okay? And it is just as easy as that. So today you're going to be doing a bunch of percents, and you will have to do some of them with calculators, and some you won't. And you're going to be turning it into percents and decimals. So I'm going to add in the photo of the work that you're going to be doing today. And it is this one. And there it is. And let's see if I can't make it a little bigger for you to see. Perfect. All right, so you're going to be doing this page, and it has all your fractions on the left side, and then they want you to do equivalent fractions there, and then they want you to do the decimal, and then they want you to do the percent. Okay, you do not need to do number 1 because 0 is always going to be 0, and they did the next one for you. Remember, friends, that when you are finding the equivalent fractions, I want the next closest ones. So I would do, well, this one's easy and they've already done it for you. They've done, it's just 1. So let's go down to 1/3. So remember, I would do 1 times 2, which is 2. Oh, you. This is going to be hard for me to do this for you. And 2 times 2, which is 4. And then I do 2 times 3, which is 6. And 2 times 3. Oh, wait, I'm doing the wrong one. The heck. Sorry. Whoa, here I am. So that's going to be 2 over 6 and 3 over 9. Okay, that would be for this one right here. Okay, because I do first 1 times 2, 3 times 2, 1 times 3, 3 times 3. And then you would do your division on your calculator to get the decimal for that. And then, which by the way, I got that out for you right now. And then you would turn it into a percent. So if I were going to go to my calculator, which I believe, no, it's not still up here, calculator, there we go. And 2 divided by 6 equals 0.33333333. I'm going to do 0.33 and then 33%. Okay, I can't do that skinnier. I can't make it look skinnier. But that's what you guys are going to be doing. So I want 2 equivalent fractions right here, 2 of them. And then if you need to use a calculator, you'll put that right there. So it'll be 0. And you should get 2 or 3 numbers at least. And then remember to move that decimal to the right to get your percent, and that's what you'll put there. And this is going to be the page that you upload for me today. I want you to do all of them, okay? Hopefully that was clear and you guys know what's going on.